Watched a lot of wilderness survival videos, but like two strangers, a man and a woman with no clothes, no food, and no tools. Surviving together for 21 days and even getting a $100,000 reward. Have you ever seen something like that? This time the challenge takes place on Negros Occidental Island in the Philippines. This is one of the harshest islands in the world. During the day, players face temperatures as high as 104 degree, 40 degrees C. At night, they have to get cozy with flying insects. Moreover, the island is home to hundreds of dangerous creatures. Ordinary people might not last even 3 days here. First to appear is the handsome male lead, Jeremy McCaw. He's a professional hunter, skilled in both confrontation and survival. The female contestant, Cassidy Flynn, is a girl in her 20s. She's got top-tier looks and figure. If you're interested, you can watch the original version. About this 21-day survival trip, Cassidy shows no pressure at all. She just has to stay pretty. Everything else, she leaves to her partner. As soon as they meet, Jeremy is full of energy. Seeing the always smiling girl in front of him, he says he'd brave blades and fire for her. Then the two take out the map and study it carefully. Top priority now is finding a water source to set up camp. The temperature is hitting 104 DE, 40 DC at this point. After just a few steps, Jeremy is sweating like crazy. To make things worse, Jeremy gets bitten by ants in a very unfortunate spot. Quick thinking Cassidy immediately helps by applying some of her vintage 82 saliva. After walking for over 3 hours, they finally reach the coast. Cassidy says nothing and dives right into the cool water. Faced with this steamy scene, Jeremy can only try to keep his cool. Seeing the sun about to set, the two decide to camp on the beach. They stay busy until nightfall, when the temperature drops drastically. Jeremy grabs a log and starts trying to make fire. But after rubbing for what feels like forever, not a single spark appears. Too much energy and protein was drained overnight. The next morning, Jeremy wakes up completely drained, mouth dry, and tongue parched. Right now, he badly needs water. To find water, the two work hard and dig a 10-meter deep hole. Finally finding a source of life, but it smells worse than a dirty ditch. From past experience, those who drank this kind of water didn't end well. In the end, Cassidy and Jeremy gloomily head back to camp. After replenishing some protein, Cassidy plans to take a quick rest. But with no campfire for protection, swarms of mosquitoes invade, keeping her awake all night. The next morning, Cassidy smears a thick coat of yellow mud all over her body. It wards off both mosquitoes and the sun. Jeremy, on the other hand, is busy trying to start a fire. Not sure if it's poor skill or just bad timing. He fumbles all morning but still can't get a flame. Cassidy can only stand by, anxiously watching. 3 days without food or water, protein only going out, not in. At this point, Jeremy is completely exhausted. Cassidy, on the other hand, is still full of energy. She tells Jeremy to stay at camp and rest, then heads into the forest and brings back a big coconut. With coconut water and Cassidy's encouragement, Jeremy bounces back. He quickly manages to start a fire. This is a game changer for both of them. Not only does it solve their drinking water problem, but now they can sleep without worrying about mosquitoes. As night falls, suddenly a rattlesnake slithers into the camp. Both are terrified and retreat to a corner, trembling. By day 4, the two are so hungry they're seeing stars. Just when they're worried about food, they find a small rat fallen into a puddle. Cassidy wastes no time and handles it right away. Soon, the small rat becomes a delicious grilled treat. One crunchy bite tastes like chicken, with 5 times the protein of beef. Full and hydrated, Cassidy takes advantage of the heat to upgrade their shelter. From then on, the two live a happier life. By day 8, the puddle water is almost gone. No other water is nearby. They resort to banana trunks for water. Cassidy quickly bends down to take a sip, sweet and refreshing. After hydrating, Jeremy immediately regains full energy. However, there are still 13 days left before the challenge ends. To win $100,000, they'll have to endure even tougher trials. A man and a woman surviving in the wild for 21 days with no clothes. Without protective clothing, Cassidy's chest is covered in mosquito bites. Jeremy uses 2 coconut shells to make her a sturdy chest guard. With her coconut armor, Cassidy braves every hardship and forges ahead. She soon finds a bird's nest deep in the forest. It's a rare source of protein. She rushes back to share it with her partner. Jeremy grins with excitement, looking oddly thrilled. He immediately sets up a pot to boil the bird eggs. On this 8th day, this is their best meal so far. Night falls. Just when the two are ready to finally get a good night's sleep, the mosquitoes in the forest start attacking non-stop. Another sleepless night. The next morning, Jeremy realizes the campfire went out overnight. No wonder there were so many mosquitoes. With no lighter, the only option is to make fire by friction. Jeremy rubs wood for 30 minutes with no spark in sight. Seeing her partner so down, Cassidy can only stay by his side to comfort him. Then, with her throat parched, Cassidy decides to fetch some water. But the water is now polluted. Now that's real trouble. Lack of food is already bad enough. Now there's no water either. Making it to the finals now seems harder than reaching the sky. But if they give up now, they'll definitely be laughed at by the whole village back home. After thinking seriously, Jeremy decides to hang in there a few more days. Cassidy recalls enduring tough days. Being with Jeremy brought her a joy she's never felt before. She decides to share both the blessings and the burdens with him. Heaven doesn't disappoint those who try. After non-stop effort, Jeremy finally succeeded in making fire. That night, the two could finally get a good night's sleep. After waking up, they started searching for water. However, after searching for a long time, all the nearby puddles had dried up. Even a miracle wouldn't help this time, although neither of them wanted to give up. But joking is one thing, risking your life is another. Retreating now is the wise choice. However, Jeremy didn't want to go home just yet. He planned to go to Cassidy's house first for a big hearty meal. How much would you pay to spend 21 days in the wild without clothes? And without any survival tools, with a stranger of the opposite sex? This is a real wilderness survival show. As long as the two strangers complete the challenge successfully, they win $100,000. So, are you tempted? First to appear is the handsome and charismatic Michael Jefferson. He's passionate about wilderness survival and skilled in all kinds of survival techniques. To make sure he had enough strength, he ate raw oysters for a week before the challenge. Sent off by his wife, Michael happily set off on his survival journey. The female contestant, Ashley Burns, is a 50-year-old lady who looks like she's 20. Since childhood, she's loved outdoor challenges. This time, hearing there's a $100,000 reward, she signed up without hesitation. The challenge location this time is Botswana, Africa. It's dry all year round with a harsh environment. There's a herd of African elephants here, and countless wild dogs that aim for your lower half. If these beasts target you, it's better to pass away than to keep living. The two meet at the rendezvous point. Ashley, clearly experienced, isn't shy at all seeing Michael without clothes. Then the two take out a map to study it carefully. They decide to first find a good location with good energy to settle down. Under the scorching midday sun to protect their skin, Michael and Ashley cover their bodies with mud masks. After walking for over 2 hours with parched throats, they finally find a ditch. But they hesitate to drink because the water smells awful. Drinking it might activate the diarrhea skill. With no other choice, they look for another water source. Soon, Ashley shows symptoms of heat stroke. Michael feels heartbroken seeing it. In a critical moment, he uses a secret move and Ashley feels slightly better. Not long after, the sun is about to set and they decide to stay here overnight. To guard against predators at night, Michael chops branches to build a fence. Then he starts a fire to prepare for the coming night. Sleeping directly on the ground is really uncomfortable. That night, Michael couldn't sleep at all. Two strangers, male and female, surviving in the wild with no clothes. Today is the second day, and they've gone 20 hours without a drop of water. After a full day of physical labor, they badly need water and protein. Reluctantly, they return to the stinky ditch from yesterday. Summoning all their courage, they take a sip of water that smells like a vintage 82 toilet. Ashley says she'd rather drink her own iced tea than this ditch water. They circle around again and finally find a fairly clean water source. Ashley, unable to bear her hunger and thirst, drinks a sip right away. Instantly gives it a 5-star review. Then Michael also leans down and gulps it down. It's so good he can't stop. However, they probably didn't watch the earlier videos. This kind of water needs to be boiled before drinking. By evening, Ashley starts vomiting and having diarrhea. No matter how much Michael comforts her, it's no use. Seeing the situation worsening, the show's team quickly sends a doctor for a full checkup on Ashley. The result is illness caused by drinking dirty water at noon. And now she has to withdraw from the challenge and be taken to the hospital for treatment immediately. At this point, Michael also starts to panic. He drank even more dirty water than Ashley. If he's not careful, he might be the next one carried out. By day 4, Michael's lips are as dry as an 80-year-old woman's. But he still hasn't found a clean water source. Michael comes up with an idea. He filters the dirty water using a sack, then gulps down 2 mouthfuls. Risk or not, he'll enjoy the relief first and worry later. Then he starts looking for food. This place seriously lacks protein. Starving to the point of madness, Michael catches over 10 grasshoppers and eats them raw. For $100,000, it looks like Michael is all in. Each night, he endures the torment of loneliness, always looking into the camera, thinking back to the fun times with Ashley. At the same time, he has to guard against wild dogs near the camp. Everyone knows those African big boys are notoriously fierce. Tonight is definitely going to be another sleepless night. This man has been surviving 8 days on a deserted island with no clothes. No food, no water. At this point, Michael is almost at his breaking point. Then an old hen perched on a tree branch catches his attention. Michael quietly sneaks over, just about to make his move when the hen flies away. Michael returns to camp disappointed. Just as he's about to take a nap, he hears the sound of a small animal nearby. He quickly gets up to check it out. A little squirrel is sunbathing on a tree. Such a cute squirrel must taste delicious. Michael can't help but swallow hard. Just as he reaches for his tools to catch it, the squirrel vanishes in a flash. Well, that's that. After all that effort, he didn't get to eat anything. In the end, he decides to set up a simple hunting trap. Whether he gets to eat some premium protein depends on this. On the way back to camp, he finds a bird's nest in a tree with 2 bird eggs inside. For someone with nothing like Michael, this is incredibly good news. Without thinking, he eats one raw and uses the other to make soup with wild grass. Just this basic dinner feels like a royal banquet to him. Bird eggs are tasty, but not enough energy for an adult. So Michael eats more than 10 ants raw, and as long as it gives him protein, he won't pass it up. Full and hydrated, he continues sleeping in the camp. No one knows why, but Jolie suddenly felt a sharp pain like being stabbed with needles. Michael started to panic. He didn't want to be carried away on a stretcher by the crew. Right after, he ran off to dig up a devil's claw herb. It's said that this plant can cure all kinds of illnesses. He hurriedly brewed a pot of hot tea. Though he wasn't sure it would work, it was the only option left. 2 hours passed, but the condition didn't improve. Playing is one thing, but this is a matter that could affect the rest of his life. Michael immediately called for the rescue team. After an exam, the doctor said it was from eating random things. Now he needed to go to the hospital for a full checkup. He could no longer continue the competition. Just like that, both Michael and Ashley failed this challenge. Even though they didn't make it to the end together, they built a deep friendship. A week later, after recovering, Michael decided to pack his bags. He flew to meet up with his teammate Ashley and reminisce about old times. This kind of wilderness survival is truly thrilling. Two strangers, a man and a woman, without clothes and with no survival tools. Surviving 21 days in one of the world's most remote places could earn you a $100,000 prize. Would you dare take on a challenge like that? The female lead this time is 23-year-old Jolie LaRue. Still young and inexperienced, she became a mom early. To earn money to buy baby formula, her husband encouraged her to apply for the show. Jolie's partner is a retired soldier named Bill. While in the military, he mastered powerful survival skills. He's also a father of 7 children. Due to life pressure, he chose to take part in this challenge, hoping to win $100,000 to improve his family's life. They arranged to meet on the beach. Seeing his teammate was a young and pretty girl, Bill was secretly delighted. In an awkward atmosphere, the two officially began their survival journey. It was already 4 p.m. To sleep well with Jolie that night, a fire had to be made first. But Bill rubbed wood for ages without getting even a spark. Eventually, he had to give up. By nighttime, the temperature dropped sharply. Bill couldn't sleep at all. Both of them shivered from the cold and could only huddle together for warmth. The next morning, Bill looked visibly exhausted. Who would have thought the first day would already be this tough? They tried to make a fire again, but just like yesterday, still no success. Eventually, Bill's throat was so dry he wanted to drink straight from the stream. Even though there was a risk of illness, they both needed water badly. Bill went first and took several big gulps. After drinking, he felt refreshed and jumped into the water for a cool bath. By afternoon, Jolie wanted to try again to make fire, while Bill stood by watching. As expected, it still ended in failure. They couldn't make fire during the day and nearly made fire from friction at night. On the third morning, Bill was woken up early from the cold. He felt like every cell in his body was trembling. A 50-year-old man and a 20-year-old girl surviving together for 21 days. No food during the day and no clothes. 3 days straight of protein going out and not coming in, Jolie and Bill were at their limit. They now urgently needed food to restore energy. Before that, Jolie still wanted to give fire making another try. After she kept rubbing without stopping, this time she finally got a few sparks. They thought having fire was a good start, but just then, Bill started feeling dizzy with a headache and pale face. For the first time, he felt powerless and had to drop the stick he was chopping. Seeing the danger, the crew immediately called in medical staff to check on him. The results showed low blood pressure due to lack of nutrition. If this went on, it could even lead to his heart stopping. Given Bill's age and health condition, the crew had no choice but to end his participation in the challenge. Hearing this news, Bill teared up with sadness. After a heartfelt hug with Jolie, Bill left with the staff to go home, leaving Jolie crying all alone. That night, Jolie was relentlessly harassed by a swarm of mosquitoes. After an intense battle with them, she even collapsed the whole shelter. The next morning, Jolie had to rebuild the shelter again. She thought if only Bill were still here, that would be great. Then she went out to look for food. Jolie found a coconut on the beach. It took a ton of effort to crack it open. After eating some of the meat, she found it spoiled and rotten. This made her feel really upset. Not only did she fail to find food, but she also wasted her strength. By day 6, Jolie felt like her body had been drained of all energy. The thought of giving up flashed through her mind, but thinking of the $100,000 prize, she decided to keep going. After a bit of internal struggle, she went out again to look for food. Today, luck was finally on her side. Jolie discovered 3 coconuts under a coconut tree on the beach, and they were all fresh. She didn't hesitate and finished all the coconut water and meat. That night, Jolie was getting ready for a good night's sleep, but unexpectedly, a wild boar broke into the camp. It scared Jolie so much she couldn't sleep all night. What could happen when a young girl without clothes is surviving alone in the wilderness? Last night, the camp was invaded by a wild boar. Jolie thought if she could catch it, she wouldn't have to worry about food for half a month. She immediately began setting up a snare trap. Whether she could eat top-grade protein or not depended on this moment. By evening, that same wild boar did show up again near the camp. The next morning, Jolie rushed to check the trap. She found the bait had been eaten, but the trap was untouched. Jolie felt incredibly defeated. She didn't know how many more days she could hold on. On day 18, Jolie spotted a small crocodile by the riverbank, even though she didn't want to mess with dangerous creatures. But because she was too hungry, she decided to take a risk. The small crocodile was extremely terrified at that moment. Unable to escape in time, it was quickly subdued by Jolie using a wooden stick. Cut to the next scene, it had already been chopped into pieces by Jolie. With this fatty protein source, Jolie felt like the cells in her body started dancing again. At night, swarms of mosquitoes came in droves. Jolie was tortured to the point of madness. Luckily, she came up with a clever idea, mixing her 37-degree iced tea with ash and applying it all over her body. This method turned out to be surprisingly effective. On day 19, Jolie was woken up early by the sound of a pig squealing. Turns out the trap she had set caught a baby wild boar. Only 2 days left in the challenge. Looking at this tiny life, Jolie suddenly felt compassion. Although wild boar meat is delicious, she still chose to let it go back to the wild. She didn't want her hands stained just before the challenge ended. By day 21, Jolie had transformed from a beauty queen into a skinny auntie. Now it was time to pack up and go home. After an 8-kilometer walk, Jolie made it out of the forest to the extraction point. Waiting for her was the ride back home and the $100,000 reward. After 21 days, Jolie had lost a total of 10.8 kilos, but this single mom had also undergone a transformation. If you were offered $100,000 to survive 21 days without clothes alongside a stranger of the opposite sex in the most remote place on Earth, would you dare to try? This time, the 2 contestants will be dropped on the dangerous and mysterious island of Panama. This place is often hit by violent storms. At the same time, there are countless massive caiman crocodiles and man-eating great white sharks. Facing such a harsh environment, most people would give up in 3 days, let alone 21. First to appear is Laura, with both great looks and a stunning figure. She's a professional survival instructor. She came here with the sole goal of winning $100,000 to pay off her mortgage. Her partner is Ken, single for 30 years. Introverted by nature, he had never shown his body in front of the opposite sex. He hoped this challenge would push him out of his comfort zone and prove his manhood. The 2 met at the rendezvous point. Laura was surprised by how big this guy was. Ken tried to act calm, started the conversation, and chatted enthusiastically with Laura. Through their eye contact, both seemed quite pleased with each other. After reviewing the map, they decided to find a safe place to set up camp first. This place had many insects, including highly venomous ones. If bitten, they'd have no choice but to quit. The 2 moved carefully. They quickly found an apple tree in the forest. These fruits were just what they needed for energy. Without hesitation, they took a bite. The sweet taste was absolutely perfect. After eating apples, they also wanted to crack open some coconuts to refresh themselves. Laura rushed to open one and accidentally cut her hand. In this humid environment, the wound could easily get infected. Ken felt sorry and quickly bandaged Laura up before continuing on. They soon found a water source. With this precious fresh water, Ken decided to set up camp nearby. Seeing the sun going down, they quickly finished building the shelter. Next came their private time together. A man and a woman surviving in the wild without clothes. As night fell, while Laura was busy replenishing protein, her legs were covered with bug bites. The culprits were sandflies, only 3 meters big, but their bites caused redness, itching, and could even lead to fever. To ease the suffering, Ken started making a fire. With no tools, he had to rely on primitive wood drilling. Ken tried hundreds of times but didn't get a single spark. Worse, a heavy rain suddenly poured down, like a brutal blow to both of them. The temperature dropped sharply, and Laura curled up in the shelter, shivering. In that crucial moment, Ken hugged her to keep her warm. By day 8, the rain finally stopped. But by now, Laura's body was full of red spots and insect bites. Besides intense itching, she also had a mild fever. There was no better solution for now, so they had to make fire first. With fire, they could keep bugs away. The 2 grabbed a stick and rubbed it over and over again. They finally managed to start a fire. It left both of them completely drained. Ken and Laura planned to go out and look for food. They headed to the apple tree to pick more fruit for dinner. But to their surprise, the fruit had all been blown away by the storm days before. Until now, they had relied on that apple tree for survival. But now they had to find another way to get protein. Laura thought about fishing. She looked for vines in the forest and wove a fish trap. Ken made a spear on his end. They quickly went into the water to start, but as soon as he stepped in, Ken wanted to back out. He said there were sharks in the water and refused to go further. Seeing Ken being such a coward, Laura had to go in herself to set the trap and used an empty bottle as a float. Laura didn't expect that right after she surfaced. Ken had already snuck back to shore. 2 strangers, man and woman, gathering seafood in the sea without a single piece of clothing. Laura wasn't just beautiful, she was also fast and efficient. She quickly returned with a large sea urchin. Meanwhile, Ken, afraid of sharks, had already run back to shore. Facing this spiky food, Ken acted picky. Laura didn't cater to him and started eating right in front of him. She even complimented how incredibly fresh it tasted, making Ken drool as he watched. After a few more days, Ken still hadn't found any food. He was truly starving and wanted Laura to go into the forest with him to look for food. Laura said the food was waiting underwater, but no matter how she tried to convince him, Ken still refused to go in. And he definitely didn't want to eat that black spiky sea urchin. By day 14, after several days of protein loss with no intake, Ken was nearly out of energy. He felt like he had lost 10 kilos in just a few days. To survive, he agreed to go into the ocean with Laura to catch food. Laura swam out to check the fish trap. Unexpectedly, inside was a 2.5 kilo Australian lobster. Ken saw it and laughed with joy. Soon after, the lobster was being grilled over the fire. One bite and the taste was incredible. After eating the lobster, the two still weren't satisfied. Laura boldly planned to catch a nearby crocodile to satisfy their cravings. But at the crucial moment, Ken got scared and wanted to back out. In the end, Laura only managed to catch a small crocodile. Back at camp after a quick prep, they enjoyed a delicious grilled baby croc. With this high-quality protein meal, tonight was sure to be sleepless in a good way. The next morning, Ken felt completely refreshed. Today was the final day. After carving a 21-day survival mark into a tree, the two sat on their homemade raft and left the deserted island. The rescue boat slowly approached them. Over the 21 days, Ken turned into a skinny guy, losing 18 kilos of fat. Laura also slimmed down by 8 kilos. You're offered $100,000. You and a stranger of the opposite sex are dropped into the wild for 21 days. No clothes allowed, no food or water brought in. Would you dare try? This episode, the show raised the stakes, arranging 2 men and 1 woman to survive together. The female lead is Caddy, a single mother. The bearded guy is named Daniel, and the handsome short-haired man is Ross. On the first day of the challenge, Ross and Caddy met first. While they were chatting happily, a third person suddenly appeared. The 3 of them stared at each other, confused, since they all thought the challenge was just for 2 people. The mood instantly became awkward. Caddy said she felt shy, but inside she was thrilled. This time, the show even provided them with a mosquito net and fire-starting tools. With these 2 magical items, they didn't have to worry about bugs at night. Their challenge location was the humid Colombian rainforest. Here, temperatures can be over 30 degrees C during the day and drop below 10 degrees C at night. This place is also home to man-eating big cats and highly poisonous dart frogs. Could 3 people without clothes survive 21 days here safely? They studied the map carefully and chose a relatively safe place to build camp. The first task was for all 3 to work together to build a shelter. But during the process, Ross and Caddy kept chatting intimately. Daniel felt left out and sat crying alone in a corner. The joy was theirs, but he could only quietly go try to start a fire. But after rubbing sticks by himself for ages, it still didn't work. Eventually, with Caddy's help, he finally made fire. With a shelter and fire, the trio's survival journey had a great start. Just as Caddy went into the woods to relieve herself, a frog suddenly jumped out. Soon after, the cute little creature became dinner for the 3. One crispy bite tasted like chicken, with 5 times the protein of beef. At night, Caddy slept between Ross and Daniel. The 3 shared a happy night together. What would happen when 2 men and 1 woman survived naked in the jungle for 21 days? On the morning of day 3, Ross caught a lizard. Seeing this premium protein source, Caddy gave him a loving hug. While eating the lizard breakfast, Daniel grew more and more jealous. Why wasn't he the one getting hugs from the beauty? To prove his manhood to Caddy, he made intentional noise beside her. Caddy noticed what he was trying to do and comforted him just in time. But Ross, standing nearby, had enough. He thought Daniel just liked to complain and hadn't done anything useful for days, while he himself was exhausted from tirelessly finding food every day for the group. The more Ross thought about it, the angrier he got, so he ate the mango he found all by himself. When he returned to camp, he told them he didn't find any food that day. By day 9, Daniel was running out of protein and finally decided to look for food. Ross chose to go off on his own. In the forest, Daniel and Caddy found a coconut tree, but it was too tall. Daniel wanted to impress the beauty, but after climbing 2 meters, he called out for his mom. In the end, they returned empty-handed. Without protein to refuel, the 3 went to bed early that night. 3 days later, due to protein deficiency, Caddy started losing vision. For Caddy's sake, Daniel returned to the coconut tree and mustered up the courage to climb again. This time, he finally overcame his fear and successfully picked coconuts. Daniel's actions earned newfound respect. He wanted to show Caddy he was willing to take risks for her. Even if he ended up injured, he'd bear it alone. With the coconut to restore their strength, the 3 had another joyful night. On day 13, Caddy happened to discover some mole holes. Hoping to enjoy grilled rat, she called Daniel over to help smoke them out. But after fumbling around for a while, they didn't catch a single one. Meanwhile, Ross caught a shrimp. But the shrimp had been rotting for days and already smelled bad. Daniel, starving for 3 days, didn't care if it stank. He needed food to work. By day 14, the naked survival challenge of 2 men and 1 woman continued. Dark clouds started forming. It was going to rain hard. The three quickly prepared and started a fire before the rain hit. They also reinforced their shelter. That night, as they were playing games, the heavy rain finally poured down. Luckily, thanks to preparation, they avoided disaster. The next day, Danyan found animal droppings by the river. He immediately called Caddy over to help him set up a hunting trap. Whether they'd get a big meal tomorrow depended on this. On day 16, Danyan went to check the trap. He found it had been triggered, but it was empty inside. Thankfully, Ross had better luck. He had discovered an orange tree. The two quickly picked all the fruit off the tree. Running like Sun Wukong, he playfully called the group over. Back at camp, Caddy quickly tasted the oranges her teammates brought back. One bite was so sweet it brought her to tears. Caddy said this was the best orange she had ever eaten and thanked them sincerely. The cooperation between the three became more and more in sync. That day, Ross and Danyan went out again to find food. They spotted a large lizard. To stay quiet, the two decided to communicate using hand signals. Ross picked the perfect moment and swiftly caught the lizard. Cut to the next scene, the lizard had been skinned and grilled over fire. But that lizard should consider itself lucky. If it had been caught by some guys from India, its fate might have been worse. This was the most luxurious meal the three had had in the past 20 days. Early on day 21, Caddy felt refreshed, saying last night was the most comfortable night yet. Today was the last day. They had to reach the extraction point 8 kilometers away. After putting out the fire and taking down the shelter, they began the long journey. 3 hours later, the three finally reached the extraction point successfully, and each of them received a $100,000 reward. Over the 21 days, Caddy lost 6.8 kilo, Danyan lost 12.3 kilo, and Ross lost up to 12.7 kilo. You're given $100,000 to survive 21 days in the wild with a stranger of the opposite sex. You can't wear clothes, bring food, or drinking water. Would you dare to try? This time, the male lead is Ryan, a 50-year-old retired soldier. Back in the military, he had received professional survival training. For this challenge, Ryan showed no pressure at all. As for the female contestant Danielle, she's a 25-year-old wilderness paramedic. She's also a vegetarian, hasn't eaten meat since she was 4. However, once Ryan found out she was vegetarian and didn't eat meat, he instantly felt uneasy. Wilderness survival is no joke. He feared he might end up carrying Danielle out in the end. But now there was no turning back. They had to push forward together. Not long after setting out, Ryan caught a cute little animal. He planned to bring it back for dinner, but Danielle, being a vegetarian, found it too cruel. Although Ryan didn't want to, since it was their first day meeting, he let the little animal go. Seeing that it was getting dark, they found a river. There was bamboo near the river, perfect for building a shelter. The two divided up the tasks. Ryan chopped bamboo, Danielle worked on starting a fire. Surprisingly, their first time working together went smoothly. Before sunset, they had finished building the shelter and making fire. At night, as Ryan and Danielle were fast asleep, the sound of wolves howling nearby kept going, terrifying Danielle so much she couldn't sleep. Luckily, the wolf pack didn't notice them. The next day, they were still scared, thinking about what had happened. Ryan quickly sharpened a knife for self-defense. Then he went out to find food. Luck was on his side. He found a mango tree full of fruit. Ryan picked one and tossed it to Danielle. One bite, it tasted amazing. But as they were enjoying the mango, another issue arose. Since they hadn't bathed in days, their bodies were now covered in ticks. If not removed in time, ticks can burrow under the skin and cause Lyme disease. Though they checked all over, at night Danielle still found ticks crawling on her body, making it hard to sleep. She wondered if Ryan had thoroughly checked her during the day. By day 6, Danielle started feeling unwell. Combined with long-term lack of nutrition and protein, she now felt dizzy and extremely fatigued. To take care of his teammate, Ryan told Danielle to stay and rest. He would go out to find food alone. When he returned, he'd provide her with some protein. By the river, Ryan found a bunch of water snails under the rocks. They were small but numerous. Ryan planned to make French-style grilled snails. But seeing the snails grilled alive on fire, Danielle was deeply disturbed. "They're living creatures," she said. "I don't believe in using them to satisfy my body." Even though her body was weak, Danielle firmly refused to eat. Ryan couldn't convince her, and eventually released the remaining snails back into the water. Ryan thought surviving with a beautiful woman would be enjoyable, but now it felt like he was dragging a burden. Frustrated while chopping bamboo, Ryan accidentally cut his finger and blood wouldn't stop flowing. To avoid infection, Danielle quickly used leaves to bandage Ryan's wound. Their tension was resolved in the process, but the food problem still wasn't solved. Would they be able to last until the end? The naked survival challenge of Ryan and Danielle reached day 11. By now they were dizzy and weak from hunger. To find more food, Ryan planned to set a spear trap in the forest. As soon as an animal triggered it, sharp spikes would shoot through the prey. He also set shrimp traps in the river. Whether or not they got protein depended on this. Meanwhile, Danielle, still eating only plants, was picking edible flowers and greens. 2 more days passed, and Ryan's traps still caught nothing. At this rate, they might have to quit early. Ryan built a fishing rig, but the fish here weren't cooperating. He spent the whole afternoon fishing, but caught nothing. By nightfall, he was so hungry he could barely hold the camera. By day 18, Ryan didn't even want to talk anymore. That $100,000 prize was right in front of him, but he didn't know if he could last 3 more days. Danielle, as a vegetarian, felt no pressure. A few flowers and greens each day was enough for her food needs. Seeing her partner so worn out, Danielle decided to go out and find food for him. She spotted a frog in the water. But for a vegetarian, catching a living creature was a huge challenge. Still, to help her teammate eat, Danielle gritted her teeth and brought the frog to Ryan. Thanks to this protein meal, Ryan finally bounced back. They ended up having their happiest night yet. Finally, the last day arrived. At sunrise, the two set off for the show's extraction point. As the large boat slowly approached from the distance, their primitive days finally came to an end, and they successfully brought home $100,000. Over the 21 days, Ryan lost up to 15 kilos and Danielle lost 3 kilos. Finally, there's an Asian guy joining the Wilderness Survival Challenge. Along with him are 2 beautiful women. He's a handsome Gen Z guy currently studying in the US. He loves exploring nature and his marksmanship skills are top-notch. His first female partner is Rose, 28 years old this year, to adapt early to the wildlife. Before the trip, Rose practiced fire starting with wood drilling every day. She seemed full of confidence about this challenge. The moment they met, James grinned from ear to ear. He didn't expect his partner to be so beautiful. His heart skipped a beat. Rose also had high expectations for the young man. At that moment, the sun was scorching. They suggested heading into the forest ahead. After walking for a bit, they found a river. Without a word, James jumped in to cool off. A few hippos in the distance stared at him for 20 minutes straight. Soon the sky darkened and the temperature dropped sharply. Rose shivered violently and said she wanted to go home. This place was too boring. Seeing this, James quickly started a fire, but Rose still kept shivering. With no other choice, James had to hug her to keep her warm. The next morning, Rose suddenly felt unwell and had symptoms of vomiting. James felt heartbroken seeing her like that. He decided to go find food for Rose. He quickly found some hawthorn berries in the forest. Tasting one, it was very sweet. He was sure Rose would love it. Back at camp, James hurried to let Rose try a few pieces. Unexpectedly, the moment it hit her mouth, she vomited and said it tasted awful. Not giving up, James handed her another berry. But this time, Rose flat out refused and said she was ready to quit. A Chinese guy and a foreign girl. What would happen surviving 21 days naked in the wild? Today is day 2 and Rose has been vomiting, having diarrhea, feeling awful. She told James she decided to quit. James was stunned when he heard it. Sis, are you serious? It's only the 2nd day and you're just leaving? Even though he tried to convince her, Rose had made up her mind to go. Before James could react, Rose had already gotten in the car to leave. That night, James was too lonely to sleep. He thought about it all night, still confused about why Rose left so suddenly. On the morning of day 3, the crew came to comfort him. No roses? Then here comes a chrysanthemum. A new partner would soon arrive to join him. And not only was she pretty, but her figure was also amazing. Hearing this, James immediately perked up. The new partner Jasmine was on her way. This 50-year-old woman is a loyal fan of the show and always wanted to apply. Today, she finally got her chance. At that moment, James nervously walked over. Seeing Jasmine, he finally felt relieved. Though she was older, she was maintained like a 20-year-old girl. Next, James and his new partner began a new round of challenge. As a welcome gift, James gave her all the hawthorn berries he picked yesterday. Jasmine didn't hold back and ate several right away. They tasted absolutely amazing, but soon, Jasmine started feeling dizzy, had a headache, and her whole body was tired. The next morning, Jasmine left something behind near the camp. James saw the scene. He noticed the color didn't look right and reminded Jasmine to pay attention to hygiene. Then he went out to look for food. But right then, dark clouds suddenly rolled in. Heavy rain was coming, scaring James to rush back to camp. This Chinese guy and a 50-year-old woman surviving naked in the wild. Unexpectedly, it began to pour heavily. The temperature dropped even further, and both James and Jasmine shivered non-stop. After 3 days of constant rain, the sun finally showed up. Taking advantage of the good weather, they rushed out to collect dry wood. They thought a good day was beginning, but Jasmine brought bad news. She told James she had chest pain. Turned out she had surgery in Korea before to get the perfect body. While collecting wood, she had accidentally hit it. Now the pain was getting worse, and she might have to quit. Hearing the word quit, James felt dizzy. His previous partner had just left, and now this new one also wanted to leave. Are you guys messing with me or what? Hold it in and things will calm down. But the more he thought, the angrier he got. Seeing James like this, Jasmine felt full of guilt, but she had no choice now. She had to go see a doctor urgently. After a simple hug, Jasmine got in the crew's car and went home. Only James was left standing there dazed. But the challenge had to go on. To win $100,000, he could only rely on his own effort. That night, a herd of hippos stormed the camp, scaring James so much he didn't dare breathe. That night was definitely sleepless. By day 15, after 3 days without meat, James urgently needed protein. So he weaved a fish trap by hand and placed it in the river, praying for a lavish seafood meal from above. But the next day, when he checked the trap, there wasn't even a hair inside. Feeling discouraged, James returned to camp and laid down. 3 more days passed, and James was so hungry he was seeing stars, nearly out of energy. Carrying the hopes of his whole village, he went back to check the trap. This time, heaven finally blessed him. He caught 2 tilapia. No time to waste, he rushed back to camp to start a fire and cook. It was the best meal he'd had in 20 days. With this protein replenishment, James successfully made it to day 21. Early that morning, he eagerly headed for the extraction point. After a 3-hour hike, James finally reached his victorious moment. He also successfully brought home $100,000. After 21 days of hellish struggle, James lost 6 kilos. If it were you, could you last until the very end?